Thunderbolts released this weekend, and it's actually pretty good. I'm not one who's been dooming and glooming about the MCU. I've actually been, for the most part, okay with most of the movies coming out. Yes, there's been some really low lows. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was not very good, and there are others that were not particularly great, but I don't think the MCU has been in, like, a massive dry spell. The Marvels was a really good movie, Guardians was a really good movie, Deadpool and Wolverine was a really good movie. It hasn't been this dire situation that people seem to make it out to be. Every other release, MCU's up and down, and I think people were just a little burnt out on too much of it. Like, some of the shows weren't the best, but I think they actually more worked out than didn't. There are issues with all of these projects, but I don't think the MCU's been the worst thing in the world. Like, it isn't suddenly dying. I think it's just become popular to a point that people were hating on it. I get Phase 3 was, like, almost perfect. Like, there was just hit after hit for Phase 3. But before that, the MCU was not that great. Like, it had its ups and downs. And since then, it's had its ups and downs. I think that was just one really good phase, and that's fine. But more specifically to Thunderbolts, this is just a good movie. Like, it's doing really well. It is an actual good movie. It doesn't really feel like the typical superhero fanfare that you get from the MCU. Yes, there is action. Yes, there are superpowers and, over-the-top fighting. But mostly this is a movie about, like, depression and finding a purpose in life and trying to find a purpose through your work. And it's actually a pretty good movie. Like, they're doing a decent job at making the emotional stakes in this one feel a little bit more relevant. And the action is kind of just, like, the eye candy. There's not really, like, a point to most of it. Obviously, this is going to be a spoiler review. There was a spoiler notice. Spoilers. All the spoilers. I will be talking about everything because I don't see a reason not to. The movie more or less opens with Florence Pugh's character, Lena Belova, and she's just miserable at her job now. She doesn't really take any pride in doing what she does, and she doesn't want to do it anymore. And I think we all feel that sometimes. Nobody likes work. Especially if you're working a shitty job, and she's kind of got, like, the shittiest job, right? And we kind of follow her a little bit through meeting, going to see her father, the Red Guardian, played by David Harbour, who is fantastic in this movie. And she agrees to one last mission, one last person to kill, and then she's going to be a front-facing hero, like, actual hero, like her sister, the original Black Widow. And it turns out that that's not going to happen. Val double-crosses her to date, and then all the people that were working for Val are trying to kill each other. But that sets the whole movie in motion. They all kind of try to kill each other. Taskmaster dies in, like, the first 20 minutes of the movie. From that point on, it's mostly just a Suicide Squad-style movie where they are all all the bad guys are trying to be good guys and going to fight the person that they were working for. And that's all the action in the movie. Like, that's really it. They do fight Sentry towards the end of the movie, but the big fight with Sentry is exactly what you would expect. They get the shit kicked out of him because it's the Sentry. He's got, like, he can, like, move things with his mind, and he can fly, and he's super strong. He's, like, the power of 10 exploding suns or something. There's not a chance. None of these people have superpowers in a real sense. The closest we get on this is Bucky, who is a super soldier, Red Guardian, who is also a super soldier, and Ghost can, like, phase through things. That's pretty much it. Yelena Belova has no powers. U.S. Agent, Wyatt Russell's character here, he has the super soldiers. There's a lot of super soldiers on here, but that just means you, like, punch really hard. They punch the shit out of this guy, and it doesn't do anything. It's not even close. So the final battle goes about how you would expect if you knew who any of these characters were going into the movie, especially Sentry. You kind of knew how this was going to go. There was no chance in hell they were taking him on in an actual fight. And then he can, like, disappear people into the void. He, like, turns them into shadows. And, like, they definitely weren't winning that one. And they don't. They get their ass kicked. And then they get turned into a shadow. Yelena walks into a shadow. But it turns out that this is just, like, his depression as a power, and, like, he sends you to see your most depressing moments, or most, like, the moment that makes you like hate yourself the most or hate your life the most, I guess. And they kind of use that to break Bob out of his depression, and he kind of stops being the Sentry at that point. He can only be the Sentry when he's in that state. They kind of go hand in hand, and that's the basic plot of the movie. And honestly, there's not a ton of action in there. It is mostly about that emotional tie that all these characters have, which is why they were marketing this like an A24 film, which is actually really cool. Seeing like the cinematographer get mentioned in a trailer is good. Do that more, please. Like do that in your movies that actually have like, you know, good directing and cinematography, but like do that more. That's actually really cool to see, like everyone involved kind of get like, you know, these are incredibly talented people working on this movie. And that really is the case. Personally, I'm not super familiar with Jack Schreier as a director. Paper Towns was ass. I didn't see his other movie, the robot one. I don't remember what it's called, but Liv Tyler. I didn't watch that. So, like, that's his only other 2 movies besides this. And one of them was not very good. So I don't know too much about him. But apparently he directed, like, more than half of Beef, which is supposed to be a very good series. I have not gotten around to watching it, although I do want to watch it, which has received critical acclaim. And in this, the directing is really good. Also, I would say the editing for this is really good. Like, it's a really fast-paced movie, but nothing feels like it's being rushed. Like, it doesn't feel rushed, but it's very fast-paced. Every scene kind of just ends when it needs to end, and it moves on. And that sounds like a obvious, like, yeah, that's just how movies should be made, but frankly, that's not how movies are made anymore. People just linger super long on shit all the time now. So, like, that was kind of refreshing to see, and the MCU is just as bad at that, where they kind of just linger on scenes, especially for, like, things they're expecting an audience reaction from. As an example, and it's probably the most overused example, and I don't actually think it's that egregious, but it does fit here. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in the Spider-Man movie, there's like a good 5-second pause when they come through their portal and when you first see them, because they know there's going to be an audience reaction. And in some sense, that makes sense, because you don't want a bunch of people cheering and screaming when they're going to get information that's important. But those scenes that are stopped by like this few seconds of pause, it makes the home viewing and just the rewatchability of this movie's a little less. I don't think it ruins the movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a little annoying when you like are watching the movie just on TV and there's like a pause and everything because a guy appeared and it's like, ah. But in that case, those scenes are followed up with like non-important moments, really. So like you could have just not had that pause and it would have been better. It would have improved the overall quality of the movie, even if I don't think they're super egregious. In this case, those pauses don't happen. When Ghost shows up, when Taskmaster shows up, US Agent shows up, there's no pause to like, look, they're back after, you know, however long it's been, especially for people like Ghost, who hasn't been in the MCU since Phase 3. We've seen her in one movie, almost unrelated movie, really. It was the second Ant-Man movie who the hell cares about that movie? And, like, she's just back. And kind of important in this movie. Like, she's a relatively main character in this movie. She does appear throughout the whole movie. She does not die, which is good, I guess. But also she's, like, the least important of the character. She's, like, the least important member of the team, but also is on the team, unlike Taskmaster, who dies almost immediately. The point here being that there's no pause for these characters. There's no fanfare to their return for any of them. It's just they appear on screen and they start fighting immediately. Like, they appear in the middle of the action, which is cool. It just keeps the movie going. There's also no like additional cameos in this movie. No one shows up that you don't see on the poster, really. Val is more or less the main antagonist. Sentry is just kind of there. As Sentry, he's mostly an antagonist, but Bob Just Bob is not. He's like the super chill guy, and he's really cool, actually. Like, he's actually really cool, and then Sentry is kind of a dick, but, you know, that the power goes to his head. Everyone else is just the Thunderbolts. Like, that's the entire cast. It's the Thunderbolts, who are the people that were working for Val, plus Red Guardian, because he is Yelena Belova's father, and, you know, he just wants to be involved. And Bucky, who's there because he was trying to stop Val as well. Like, he was separately trying to stop Val through his political position, and he just kind of accidentally ended up on the Thunderbolts, I guess is the best way to put it. Like, he shows up to take them in to stop Val, with a political motive of, like, impeaching her from her position, and that fails. Then he's like, yeah, sure, we'll just fight this Bob together, which doesn't go well. With all that said, the movie's good. I think the best part of this is the casting. Obviously, people like Florence Pugh and Sebastian Stan are incredible actors. David Harbour is doing a fantastic job as Red Guardian. David Harbour and Geraldine Viswanathan are saving this movie as far as, like, the comedy goes. David Harbour was obviously very funny as Red Guardian. We've seen him in other things. He's in the Black Widow movie as well, and he's funny in that. Geraldine Viswanathan is kind of saving, like, a lot of Val's scenes as Mel. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is fun and engaging in this movie, but she does need someone to play off of, and Mel works perfect for that. The little ways she tries to say things that are clearly illegal and she can't just say out loud with these, like, little euphemisms and stuff. It's fun. That kind of keeps the mood from being too depressing, because, again, the entire rest of this cast, with the exception of Ghost, is just, like, a depressive episode. Yelena Belova just basically hates her life at this point. She's miserable that her sister's dead. She's kind of miserable with her job is, and she just doesn't seem very happy throughout this movie. That's kind of the crux of the beginning of this movie. Wyatt Russell's U.S. agent is also incredibly depressed. His entire family left him. He's no longer in the military. He had a non-honorable discharge, not a dishonorable discharge. I guess it's like somewhere in between, for killing an innocent man in the streets, which, fair enough. He does not believe he did anything wrong, but, you know, when do they ever? His entire family, like, his wife left him, he took his kid, he's just alone now. So obviously his whole story in this movie is depressing. Red Guardian is old and doesn't like his life, and he just misses being a hero. He was a hero in the old Russia or USSR, and he's just kind of misses that. And Bob is an ex-meth addict and just constantly depressed and loses chunks of his life whenever the void takes over. So really, this entire movie is just, like, 4 of the most miserable people in the MCU, and then Ghost and, like, Sebastian Stan are just kind of tagging along. Not to say Ghost doesn't have, like, a tragic backstory or whatever, and obviously so does Bucky, but, you know, we don't really see much of their we know all of Bucky's backstory. We don't really need to see more of it. We know most of Ghost's life because of the Ant-Man movie. We don't really need to see more of it, so they're kind of just there. The movie ends with them being kind of tricked into being labeled the New Avengers, which, sure, why not? I think we all kind of figured that was what was coming here. But also, it's revealed at the very end of the movie in the post-credit scene, which is actually a pretty long scene. Usually they're not this long. In the post-credit scene, it's revealed that Sam Wilson as Captain America is creating his own Avengers and, like, trademarked it and everything, and he doesn't want them using the Avengers name. Fair enough. They're, like, a bunch of weirdos and criminals and ex-mercenaries. Like, they're not really Avengers name worthy, but, you know, it is what it is, I guess. So he's making his own Avengers. That's something we kind of knew, we kind of expected, but at this point it's kind of confirmed. Like, that was more of a confirmation, but that's not the big surprise at the end of this movie. The last thing we see is the Fantastic Four spaceship kind of hurtling in towards our planet, and if you've been paying attention to the Fantastic Four trailers, which I'm sure you have if you're somehow watching this video, they're in another universe. Like, that, they're just not here. There is no Fantastic Four in this reality. So that just kind of gives away a little bit that at the end of the Fantastic Four movie, they're going to come here, which I think we all expected. Like, that, I think that was all expected. But it just confirms that's they are going to lose to Galactus. Can't wait for that movie. It's only like 2 months away. Cannot wait for that movie. Very excited. Not as excited as I am for Superman, but it'll be something to watch the week after Superman. And lastly, I just want to point out that that was directed by the Russos, so this is going to tie in directly to new Avengers movies, Doomsday, and probably to some extent Secret Wars. But yeah, very good movie, very good outing from the MCU, and I'm mostly excited to see what comes next for these characters. I didn't have super high expectations for this movie when it was announced, but as they showed the cast, showed the trailers for the movie, it started to come together for me, and honestly, this is probably the best MCU movie of the phase. Right there, like, probably a step under Guardians. Like, probably right there with, like, Deadpool and Wolverine as, you know, two very, very good movies in the phase. One step above the Marvels, I guess. Somewhere in that area. It's a close, like, second or third for the best MCU movie, although I don't think anything's coming close to the Guardians 3. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.